on and on and on. Was it even recording? Love when that happens. So I can just start over. Luckily, you don't know what all I said, but I do, so hopefully I won't forget some. So this is from PVOVP, which is my bag and pillowcase favorite shop. So this is the bag that I bought this time. I love this because it is paying homage to the Beatles. Remember the album cover that I can't remember the name of the album, but where they're walking across the street. So I loved this when I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. It's so cute. Because the street's all cracked and anyway, the street is in poor repair. So that is my bag. And if you don't remember, or if you haven't seen one of these videos before, this is the inside of the bag. It's 12, I think it's 12 by 12. It might be 13 by 13 inches or 12 by 12. I don't know. But it holds a nice size crochet project. It will hold a change of clothes if you're going to the beach or whatever, or if you're staying just one night somewhere. This is a perfect bag to take, and you don't need to have a bunch of stuff with you. So I love those bags. Okay, next I bought this little guy, and this goes with the next two projects I'm going to show you, but this is super cute. This is a floss organizer, not a floss for your teeth, but DMC floss. So it has your numbers, which is how the patterns are labeled. So you can put your floss on here, and it's a little bit more compact and more sturdy because they send you your floss on little pieces of cardboard. So it still is good and it still is usable, but this takes up a lot of space, and as you can see, it's kind of flimsy. So Emily's outside talking to me. Okay, so these are all of the DMC colors that I need for this first project. And that's why I love these kits, because they send you exactly what you need, and they send you enough. So you don't have a whole lot of excess, but you, again, have what you need. So like, for instance, this color of green, this blue, this very pale blue, these two very pale blues, and this very pale pink, this brown, and this like steel blue, they are, and this purple. These are all single strands, so even these two colors here. And what I mean by that is one piece. So if you went to the store and bought this color, you would have like 300 yards or whatever it is. I can't remember how big the little skeins are now. But for this project, you only need this one, you know, what, like 24-inch piece maybe, and you're gonna have leftovers. So if you go to the store and buy all these individually, you gotta buy all these colors, and then you're gonna have all the excess. So these kits are perfect because they send you exactly what you need for the project with minimal overage. You also get needles, so if this is your very first time ever doing one of these, you have everything you need right here in one package. So this is what this first project will look like. Little wedding gnomes. Aren't they cute? I really want to crochet a set like this, so I need to send this to my gnome dealer, the one that I buy most of my gnome crochet patterns from, and ask her if she could do something similar to this. That would be such a cute project. I love it. Okay, so the guide. Hi, Fluff. What you doing?
She says I was watching Emmy.
She says I'm ignoring you. That's what I'm doing. Ooh, made myself dizzy. Can't do that with my neck.
Should I just let that
cuts off the circulation, huh?
Should I just let that burn?
Yeah. Just keep an eye on it. So this, scarily, is the pattern guide. I don't think I've ever seen one like this with the grids so big. The grids are usually broken down. I think it's into 10 or 12 or 14. It depends on the count. Like if you aren't familiar, I will show you. And if you are familiar, then just bear with me because we all have to learn, right? So if you look at this fabric, you can see the holes. So there, for instance, there is 9 count Aida, which is the name of this cloth. That means there are 9 holes. Is that right? 9 holes per inch. Then there's 11. Hang on, it says on here. There's 11 and there's 14. I don't know if it says, what is this one? So this is a 30 by 40 centimeter. So it's the size we're used to, but it doesn't tell me what the count number is. I'm not sure. This might be 10 count since the grids are counted off by 10. So maybe this is a 10 count cloth. I don't know. But if you're buying all this stuff individually, you have to buy plain Aida cloth. And let's see if I can remember how it goes because it's been years since I have done cross stitch. I'm trying to think. I want to say the lower the number, the bigger the project will be, but that doesn't sound right. Anyway, 14 count is the normal. I think 9 count is the smaller holes, and then 14 count is the larger holes, and like this is probably 10 or 11. So you can see where your holes are, and that's where you're going to insert your needles, and you'll make an X from one hole to the next. You don't skip any in between. You just make a line that goes across diagonally and then a line that goes back across diagonally. So that's how you do it. And then if you don't have one of these kits, you have to count all the way across. So to start on his shoes, you would have to count 10, 20, and then this is a terrible, honestly, this is a terrible pattern because you really can't count exactly how many are there. You just kind of have to guess because it's not gridded down small enough. But then you would say, okay, I have to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the bright yellow for the bottom, the very first row of his shoes. So you would go across and you'd count across and you'd do those stitches. And then you'd come back over to your grid, see what the next row looks like, and you'd go back to your fabric, count across, and do those stitches. It's really time-consuming and challenging because it's so small. But what I always did was I took a pencil or a highlighter like I showed you with my freestyle that I'm doing. So theoretically, you could cross-stitch this if you just use Aida cloth and DMC thread. And just like with this, you can alternate, which I'm not sure how this would work to use this pattern. And I was really hoping to do a diamond painting of this pattern also, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. So anyway, you get your pattern. So this is what you would follow if you had your own cloth, if you want to make more than one, didn't want to buy another kit, whatever the case may be. This is what you would have to follow, count by count, block by block, and stitch. So in this kit, it comes printed already on the cloth. So this helps because you can see exactly how big your project is going to be when it's finished, because that's exactly where you're going to be stitching. And all the colors are printed just like on our canvases for our for our diamond paintings. You have the same key code on the side. You have these same markings over here where you're going to make your stitches. And you also have all of your numbers for your floss. If you have to go buy more, if you're going to make more than one of these and you need more floss for the second pattern, you know exactly what you need to do. Now these numbers are the same numbers on our normal diamond paintings. So the, let's see, do I have one here? Oh yes, okay, so say this painting for instance, you can see all those numbers that I talk about, the DMC numbers, they are all right here. So if you wanted to cross stitch, turn this into a cross stitch, you could by using this pattern. It will turn out to be just this size. You have to get, the right size Aida cloth and just count and stitch as you go. And you would know exactly what colors you need because all your DMC numbers are here. So you could go buy the floss that you need. Okay? So this is the cloth for this one, and I have my 2 needles are there. So everything I need is right here. The only thing that I need to get is an embroidery hoop, which is one of those little wooden circles that have the 2 layers with the little screw at the top. So you would put this in an embroidery hoop, and that keeps the fabric taut, and it makes it much easier to stitch. Because if you're trying to stitch on this like a regular sheet, I mean, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because it's, trust me, you definitely need an embroidery hoop. Okay, so that's that. So here you can see this is what I would transfer from the cardboard onto here, especially if I need to carry this around. This is definitely a better idea because it won't, the holes can tear on the cardboard sheet, and I've had that happen before. It's not real fun. So the next kit that I got came in this bag. Now remember, I already recorded all this. So this is the, I like this bag much better because the first one just came in the normal plastic, and I can't get it back in there. It's fighting me. I'll have to do it when I'm turn the camera off, and it'll work. So this is what this pattern looks like. I love cactus and succulents. They're so much fun. So that is that's like the cover sheet, just showing you what it'll look like. And then here is the pattern. So again, you have a picture of the finished product. These are the 2 right-hand cactus with the little pokey thing right there. And then you flip the paper over, and you would start from right here and work your way back over to the left, or, excuse me, sorry, or you could start from the left and go to the right. But you just have to make sure that any little colored areas you see, that you do those stitches, because it'll miss out on that. And then down here is the key code, whatever you want to call it, down here. So again, you've got your DMC numbers, your the grid signs. I don't know what to say. These are just alphabets and numbers, so they're simple. And then you have the actual number. So when you're looking to start your project, here are all of the floss pieces for this project. So I would go to, let's see, I'm gonna do a little bit of an example for you. And I've pulled out 907. So this is 907 here, so you can see. And this is the cardboard, I'm talking about. And if you pull on it too much, it will tear. But the reason the kits are good, because see, like these 2 colors here, just as an example, this is all you need for this project, is just these 1 little strands each. And you would have to buy a whole skein of like 300 something yards to do this project. And all of these colors up here, let's see, these and these. So all of these, except for the first 2, these are all just single strands. That's all you need for this project. So if you're only doing this one, you don't want to go buy a whole skein. I mean, they're not that expensive, but still, you have so much left over, it's ridiculous. Okay, so what I did before I realized I wasn't recording is I pulled out 1 strand of the 907, and I started splitting it, because there are 6 pieces of thread. It's literally like sewing thread. There are 6 of these in each strand, but you only sew with 2 at a time. So you have to separate out 2 and leave the other 4 intact. And I had started doing that, and no, leave my string alone. So I had gotten to a point where normally you can just pull like this, but see how it gets ugly at the top? I know this is going to gross some people out, but just bear with me. This is what I do if I'm by myself. Put the end between my teeth, and then you can pull tight, and every once in a while you got to let go and let it untwist, but then you have your 2 strands to sew with, and then you have your 4 remaining strands that when you need to rethread your needle, it's right there. Let's see, I'm just going to grab one of these needles because it's not in a bag. This is probably the hardest part, threading the needle. And a lot of times cross-stitch needles are not really sharp. I mean, they still hurt, but they're usually blunt. because your cloth already has the holes in it, so you're not having to pierce the fabric. All right, so what I do, I'm going to use my cup instead of licking this because I know that is really gross. So I'm using condensation off my cup. I'm just wetting it so it's tighter. And then you have to thread it, which is really difficult sometimes. All right, I did it first try. Woo. Now, what I do is I'll take it down not quite half. So I've got this much that I'll be working with. And you want to tie a knot in this end. So the way I do it is I wrap it around my finger. So it's wrapped all the way around my finger, and I'm holding the very end and this piece in the same place. And I just roll my fingers like that, and then you have kind of like a slip knot. And then you can usually get a little tiny knot. And I usually do that twice, just so the knot doesn't slip through. And the reason I do the rolling thing is that it puts it in the same place each time. So there you can see there's my bottom knot. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my needle and my pattern. Now 907 is the darker green block that you can see right there. And I'm just going to start over here on this one. Let's see, let me fold this a little bit so it's easier to hang on to. All right. So let me look at it this way so I can get in the right place. So what you're going to do is you're going to find that dark green block. And see, this is why you need an embroidery hoop, because it's really hard. So you're going to go start wherever you want to start. You're going to start in the top. Since I'm right-handed, I always start in the top right-hand corner. And then just slowly bring your thread through. And I always leave a little bit of a tail that I end up stitching over. So now what you're going to do, this is going to be really hard. See, I wish I had my tripod. So next, you're going to go into the diagonal hole. So it's going to be the bottom. If you look at this as a grid of the four holes being one square, that's what you're going to be working with. So I started in the top right, so I'm going to go back in on the bottom left, and it comes through the back. And now here's the secret, so to speak, of keeping the back of your work nice and neat, because a lot of times if you're not careful, it'll just be all tangled and messy, and you have to go slow, because if your thread gets knotted and you don't pay attention, then you have to rip out all those stitches and it's a pain in the neck. So I went in from the top right, went back out from the bottom left. So now I'm going to go back up to the top left. Okay. And I'm going to bring it through, and I'm going to go back in on the bottom right. Okay. Okay, so for my preference, I like the back of my work to look neat. And like I said, is I hang on to a little tiny tail like this. And now normally I would go down to the next block, but I can't because the next green is over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trap my tail underneath my next stitch, and I'm going to go across to the top right of the next square, pull through, and now my tail is tucked, and if any kind of pulling happens on the front, it won't get to the point of being pulled out because the knot will stop it from sliding all the way out. So I'm on the top right of the next box. So I'm going to go to, I know this is really hard to see, and I hope I'm not driving you all crazy, but I wanted to do this for people that may have never done cross stitch before, because PVOVP has some really great kits, some really great images. Okay, so I went from top right to bottom left. So now I'm going to go straight down on the back to the, see, this is, it's really hard when you don't have Oh, okay, there we go. So I'm going to the top left now, and you want to make sure that you're on the right side of your canvas, because I can tell you how many times I've gone back in to the wrong side. Okay, so there is top left, and we're going to finish it on the bottom right. Okay, so again, make sure your thread is not wrapped around your canvas, and just slowly, if you have something like this happen, all you need to do, I always use my needle to go back in and just kind of pull up. And there you go. So can you see? It's hard to see when it's printed. If I just did this on, like, I'll do it over here. So we'll do it here on this section so you can see better. And I can always pull it out. So we're going to go in top right from the back to the front. Pull our yarn, our floss through, and we're going to go in to the bottom left. So you can see top right. Can you see the little square that's formed there? Bottom left. And then you go back into the top left. And in to the bottom right. It's hard to do this from the wrong side too. So when you get going, you can actually figure out where your thread is going to go. So now I'm going to do another X directly beneath it. So I'm just going to go straight down. Now this is going to be the bottom right of the next square. And we're going to go up to the top left. So you can see there we went from here up to here. So we're doing diagonal. And then to go back in, we're going to go back in to the bottom left. If I can find the right spot. Okay, so we're going into the bottom left. So you can see the diagonal there. If it would focus, it's a little bit blurry. Okay, so we're going in, and see what I've done here? I did exactly what I said be careful of. So instead of going, we're going to go from the back to the front. This is why I can't talk and craft at the same time. I always make mistakes. So there, we almost have our second X. So now we're going to go back to the top right and bring it through. And there are two X's. Now, what I was talking about keeping the back of your work neat, if you can see on the back, you should just have straight lines on the back. You should not have crosses unless you're going from one section to another and you're just too lazy to cut. I will do that. So for instance, when I get down, so as I'm going down this side, you can see the dark green. When I get down here, I can jump over to here without cutting my thread if I don't want to. And then you would have that long, kind of like I did just for the test piece, you would have that long string. But if you have a string like this going through your work, you can cover it up somewhat, like lock it into place with your other stitches, like I did my end. Now, I do not recommend going across any white space. So from this cactus to this cactus, you definitely want to cut your thread and start again in this section, because anything that's going across here will show through on the front of your work. Okay, so I hope I didn't drive you crazy with that, but I just wanted to give a quick little, 5-second tutorial, which didn't turn out to 5 seconds, but I just wanted to give you a little test in case you have wanted to try and you haven't. This is definitely doable since you're already used to diamond painting. It is basically the same concept. You're working in a grid. You're just working with X's instead of little circles or little squares, right? So it works either way. And like you can use, if I wanted to, I could take this pattern right here which I was hoping the gnome pattern would be more like this one. But I can take this with my leftover drills, leftover rhinestones, whatever I want to use, or I can go buy similar colors in the Diamond Dots jars, and I can make this on canvas. So I could have diamond painting cactuses to match the cross stitch. So you could actually do 2 gifts if you're doing something like that. You could do your diamond painting, but you could need to fill in the background too. Or you could cut around it and put it in a cute little tiny frame, just one piece. It would be super cute as a diamond painting. So like I was working over here, actually let me grab the grid instead. So this is the pattern from the freestyle book that I showed you in a previous video. Theoretically, I could take this and I could cross stitch the same design using the same idea of each block being an X and just using similar colors. Or you can go online and Google the diamond dot numbers compared to the DMC numbers. They do have a chart out there where you can kind of see which ones are close. But the DMC numbers and the diamond dots numbers are not the same. They're not the same color at all. So for instance, get something that's actually visible here on camera. So for instance, this dark blue, the number on this is 8130, and it has a DDC code. So that way you know it's not a DMC code, but you can go online and you can find a chart where it shows you like this color is close to this color. So if you do want to do the DMC numbers or the floss, whatever, then you have that. So anyway, I think I've rambled on enough. I told you what I wanted to tell you, showed you what I wanted to show you. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so much. And let me know if you are a cross stitcher, if you are not a cross stitcher, if you've been wanting to try it, but have been intimidated or worried or whatever that you wouldn't do very well. Trust me, if you can do diamond painting, you can do cross stitch. It's just much more tedious and time consuming because you do have to separate your strands, you have to make each stitch, you have to tie off, and and all that kind of stuff. But you just need to make sure that you have your X's all going in the same direction, and they will work out just fine. You will have cute little cross-stitched, I almost said crocheted, cute little cross-stitched pieces that make awesome gifts, because if anybody knows anything about cross-stitching, they will be very appreciative of your work, because it definitely takes longer than a diamond painting does. I am putting both of my projects back in this one bag because this bag is terrible and it doesn't want to go back in. So I just have to remember that I have them both in here. All right, so that is that. So make sure you go check out PVOVP. Take a look at the cross stitch patterns in a whole new light. If it's something that you want to try, give it a try. And like I said, if you've never done it before, one of these kits is perfect because you have everything you need except for scissors. And who doesn't have scissors? And if you don't, then go buy a pair. You can get them at Dollar Tree. All right? All right. So definitely let me know down below. Let's have a conversation. Let's see who is a cross stitcher, who started cross stitching and went to diamond painting, who did diamond painting, started doing cross stitching, whatever. Tell me what it is. So anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me ramble. And I hope I didn't miss anything this time because like I said, I went through almost the whole thing. I got all the way to separating the yarn and I realized I wasn't filming. So I had to repeat a lot of that. So I hope I didn't leave anything out that I had wanted to include. So love you. Thank you for being here. I'll see you soon.